I know the title of this video is kind of going to be a dead giveaway, but holy shit, it finally fucking happened. Oh, man. Okay, so I know that this video has the potential to be a complete shitstorm, so let me just explain my background with both the Call of Duty franchise and the Battlefield franchise. Most of you guys already know the history lesson. My first Call of Duty game was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, but my first Battlefield game was Bad Company. They were actually both released around the same time. I think Modern Warfare was out in 2007 and Bad Company was out in 2008. And now in 2016, I can safely say that I've gone back and played every single Call of Duty game, and I've played every current Call of Duty game. But as far as it goes for the Battlefield series, I have not gone back and played every game prior to Bad Company, but I have played every Battlefield game that's been released after. What I'm trying to say here is that I'm one of those fucking freaks that actually happens to like and play both games, along with most other FPS games that have been released since. But even with that being said, it looks like Battlefield 1 might have actually beaten Infinite Warfare this year. So let me show you guys some numbers. The website VGCharts.com has finally gotten the first week's sales numbers in for Infinite Warfare, and for the first week of Infinite Warfare on the PS4, it sold roughly 2.3 million copies. It's also sold 1.3 million copies on Xbox One, and roughly 75,000 copies on PC. Just keep in mind that for now, this is just the first week of sales for Call of Duty. But Battlefield 1 here has had 3 weeks of sales, and they have sold roughly 3 million copies on PS4. They've also sold roughly 1.5 million copies on Xbox One, and on PC they have sold roughly 235,000 copies. So at this current moment, Battlefield 1 has outsold Infinite Warfare. But I will add a caveat to this because Battlefield 1 has had 2 extra weeks of sales to be accounted for, but there is serious potential that they might have just beaten Call of Duty this year. But the purpose of this video is not just solely the news about the sales of Battlefield 1, and it's also not to spite Call of Duty's sales, it's actually to take a deeper look as to why Battlefield 1 was able to outsell Infinite Warfare. The first thing I want to touch on is that competition between both of these different games is actually good. The fact that both of these game franchises keep going head to head with each other is actually a good thing because it means that they're both wanting to work harder at making better games. And as far as it goes for competition between Battlefield and Call of Duty, Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3 was the biggest competition for both of them. Obviously, these games were both modern military FPS games, but Call of Duty was still focused on infantry, whereas Battlefield 3 could offer a variety of different gameplay. But if we put our opinions aside and we just look at the sales of both games, Battlefield 3 was actually the highest selling Battlefield game ever, and Modern Warfare 3 was also the highest selling Call of Duty game ever. But if you compare the sales of both Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 3 outsold Battlefield 3 by twice the amount. We're talking about roughly 14 million sales versus 7 million. I believe that's just on the Xbox 360 though. So with numbers this significantly different, how did Battlefield finally outsell Call of Duty? Well, here's my take on it. I actually love this tweet that Battlefield recently put out. It says, no matter what era, we'll see you on the battlefield 2006 versus 2016. On the left we have Battlefield 2142, and on the right we have Battlefield 1. So for those that don't know, in 2006 Battlefield made a future Battlefield game called Battlefield 2142. Now I haven't personally played Battlefield 2142, but from what I know, it's a future Battlefield game that has like futuristic weapons and vehicles, but it doesn't have like jetpacks and exo jumps like futuristic Call of Duty games have. From what I've heard, apparently hardcore Battlefield fans actually really liked Battlefield 1 2042. Yeah, I meant to say Battlefield 2142. I'm so sorry, I never make mistake again. But in terms of sales, it was actually very underwhelming and it underperformed compared to most Battlefield games. So there is potential that early in 2006, it could have been an early sign to not do future Battlefield games. And that makes sense because they continued to compete with Call of Duty by doing World War II games and modern military games. Now we're in 2016 and we have a World War I Battlefield game. Now I'm not exactly 100% sure when this happened, but apparently Battlefield 1 has actually been planned for a number of years, but EA was putting a halt on the game. EA has apparently been delaying the release of Battlefield 1 for quite some time. So why did they wait till 2016 to finally release a World War I Battlefield game? The key to Battlefield 1 outselling Infinite Warfare was timing. Timing was everything for the concept, the marketing, and ultimately the release of the game. Just think about it. The Call of Duty Infinite Warfare reveal trailer was released first on May 2nd. The newest Call of Duty gameplay was revealed first, and it got shat on. Now don't get me wrong, I kind of like the game and I still play it, but there's no rational way to dispute the amount of dislikes and bad community reception that this game has gotten. Now the Battlefield 1 official reveal trailer was actually released 4 days after. It's almost as if the official reveal trailer for Battlefield 1 was released as a response to this game. And in comparison to Infinite Warfare's trailer, this was vastly better. And as a result, this trailer received a ton of praise, a lot more praise than they were probably even expecting. This was the absolute perfect time for them to finally drop their trailer. So initially they waited to drop their trailer, but then they released their beta and their game first. There was a ton of hype for Battlefield 1 after this trailer, and people wanted to be able to play the game, so they figured we should release the beta and the actual game before Call of Duty. And I think the big mistake for Call of Duty was waiting too long to actually get their beta out. But this whole thing was absolutely genius because Battlefield 3 had a really hard time competing with Modern Warfare 3 in terms of that fast-paced infantry combat. Instead of fighting fire with fire this year, DICE decided to fight fire with sand. It's actually really interesting if you think about it because Battlefield 1 is the polar opposite of Infinite Warfare in pretty much every conceivable way. The weaponry, obviously the time period, the movement system, the community's reception to the game, and the micro DLC. I truly think that Battlefield finally realized that the only way to overcome this whole Battlefield versus Call of Duty thing is actually just to step away from it. And in doing so, they've created a game that they really love, and it's a game that they've been very passionate about for a number of years. And that's something pretty awesome that I believe has resonated very well with a lot of different people. So here's my final thoughts on this whole thing. Again, I truly do like and play both of these games a lot, but this is an amazing achievement for Battlefield. And to put it bluntly, this is so fucking awesome! But even though this is obviously awesome for Battlefield, I hope it doesn't get to their heads. I'm really just hoping that Battlefield doesn't get too complacent or start adopting the bad habits that Call of Duty has over all these years. And again, this is just my personal theory, but I don't think that Battlefield is truly the COD killer. I truly do subscribe to the idea that COD is the COD killer and they're going to kill themselves off at the end of the day. And I think that Infinite Warfare recently adding more micro DLC to supply drops instead of adding leaderboards or custom emblems or a combat record is just the cherry on top. But in all seriousness, it's really time for Call of Duty to step up their game. Call of Duty was and still is a very resilient, strong brand, but they finally stretched themselves so thin that Battlefield has outsold them. So honestly, they just need to fucking try harder. But for like the dozenth fucking time now, again, I love both games, I play both games, and at the end of the day, I really just want what's best for both of these games. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did and you'd like to see some more Battlefield videos or some more Call of Duty videos, make sure to drop a like, and I'll see you guys later.